Okay, now we are going to create our WebSocket connection. So in that way, our server is going to behave as a WebSocket connection. So in that way, I am going to use the library which is called socket.io, which we have installed previously, and it's also in the documentation or the package.json of our libraries. So first of all, I will define a constant always as we create as well the the libraries, or we are calling the libraries. I will call a library or create something like constant. We call it socket like this, io, something like that. And then we will say require to call that library, and we will get like socket.io. So in that way, I will hold all the library in that constant, which is called socket.io. Always the calls for the libraries, put them on the top, something like that. So now this socket.io, as you see, is a constant and it has some functions. So this function, we are going to pass to it the server which we have created to create a WebSocket server. So the result of that creation, I will save it in something called IO, or we can have a name, like we can give it something like socket handler. Like this socket handler will hold for me all the functions which will hold or have the functions for connecting and sending messages through the WebSocket. So how we can have that sockets handler? We are going to call the socket.io library, which we have created, and then we are passing the server or the web server which we created in the previous lecture, and pass as a parameter to the function of that library call, which is called socket.io. So like this, it will hold for me all the information under that port to be in the socket handler. So after that, we are going to connect to that WebSocket. So we will see later how we are going to test that WebSocket using some tool called Postman. But first of all, we can say like some handling, like exactly how we did. We have when we listen to the port, we posted a message, okay, we are listening to that port, so this port is booked. As well, when we are having a client connecting to that WebSocket, then it's going to show some message. So for that, I will have here the socket handler.on, which is like a function, have some specific strings handler or string event, and it will give a callback based on that event. So for example, one of those events is called connection. So on connection, it means like somebody connected to the WebSocket. So in that way, it will have a callback exactly how we had with the listener. So after that, we can console log, make a console log message, and we will say client connected. So when some client is getting connected to our WebSocket, we will have that message in our console log. Okay, let's save that, and in the next lecture we are going to see how we can test that connection or that WebSocket. In that way, we have opened that connection. We are waiting now for a client, or we can say the front end, to connect to our WebSocket server.